In the blink of an eye, the vibrant city of Soledad, Colombia, was engulfed by a ferocious tempest that struck without warning. Picture this: a sunny afternoon, kids playing in the streets, vendors selling fruit under colorful awnings, and then, bam! Nature unleashes its wrath. Winds howled with the ferocity of a runaway locomotive, tearing rooftops from homes and flinging sheets of corrugated metal through the air like lethal blades. These weren't just gusts. They were a force of destruction, twisting everything in their path. Let's pause for a second. Can you imagine the sheer terror of seeing your home's roof peeled away like paper? That's what the people of Soledad faced. Massive trees, some standing for decades, crashed to the ground with bone-rattling force, flattening cars and turning streets into mazes of debris. Entire neighborhoods were cut off, isolated from rescue as the storm raged on. The chaos was unreal. Families scrambled through pitch-black streets, dodging sparking power lines and the deafening blasts of exploding transformers. This wasn't your typical rainy day. This was a scene straight out of an apocalyptic movie. The commentary here: Mother Nature doesn't play favorites. And in Soledad, she showed no mercy. What makes this so chilling is how fast it happened. A city of over 700,000, buzzing with life, was plunged into pandemonium in mere moments. 1 minute, it's a normal summer day, kids in school, shops open, life moving along. The next, total mayhem. Streets turned into rivers as floodwaters surged, submerging everything in their path. Businesses were reduced to rubble, their windows shattered like fragile dreams. Schools and churches, places meant to be safe havens, stood defenseless against the storm's relentless assault. To the people of Soledad, this didn't feel like a thunderstorm. It was as if a hurricane had ambushed their city, leaving devastation in its wake. And here's the kicker: no one saw it coming. That's the power of nature, folks. Unpredictable, unstoppable, and utterly humbling. Picture this: a sunny Caribbean afternoon, the kind where the air feels warm and the streets are alive with everyday life. But on Saturday, August 30th, at around 12:30 p.m., the city of Soledad, Colombia, was about to face nature's fury in a way no one saw coming. Out of nowhere, what seemed like a typical tropical shower escalated into something far more menacing. A fierce storm system churned, giving birth to a tornado-like cyclone that swept through the city with no warning. Meteorologists would later report wind speeds reaching 40 miles per hour, with gusts so powerful they could rip apart anything in their path. Think roofs torn from houses, massive mango trees yanked from the ground, and power poles snapped like twigs. In mere minutes, entire neighborhoods were transformed into scenes of devastation. Places like Novo, Milenio, Los Cedros, Las Mores, and Villa Estadio, vibrant communities just moments before, were left in ruins, barely recognizable to those who called them home. The tornado didn't discriminate. It tore through everything, leaving a trail of destruction. Imagine the skyline flashing with bursts of light, not from fireworks, but from transformers exploding under the storm's wrath. Sparks cascaded down as power outages plunged thousands into darkness. The streets became a war zone of debris. Jagged tin sheets, broken branches, and shards of glass littered the ground, turning familiar roads into treacherous mazes. For the people of Soledad, this wasn't just a storm. It felt like a hurricane had zeroed in on their city. This sudden disaster reminds us how quickly nature can turn a normal day into a fight for survival. The residents of Soledad faced a terrifying ordeal, one that left their community forever changed in just a matter of minutes. The wind howled like a beast unleashed, tearing through the small coastal town of Puerto Esmeralda, Mexico. Folks were caught completely off guard. Imagine waking up to a sunny morning, sipping coffee, and then, bam, the sky turns apocalyptic in minutes. This storm didn't just roll in. It slammed into the town like a runaway train. Let me set the scene for you. Streets that were bustling with vendors and kids playing soccer turned into raging rivers in no time. It's the kind of chaos you'd expect in a disaster movie, but this was real life. Residents scrambled out of their homes, clutching their kids, blankets, anything they could grab in a panic. Picture this: debris like wooden planks and jagged pieces of corrugated metal whipping through the air. One local, Maria, later told reporters it sounded like a monster growling mixed with a jet engine. That's vivid, right? It gives you chills thinking about it. The storm's roar was so loud it drowned out screams and sirens. Here's a quick commentary note for you all. Storms like this, often fueled by warm ocean waters, can escalate fast in coastal areas. Puerto Esmeralda sits right by the Pacific, so it's no stranger to wild weather. But this was next level. Floodwaters surged through the streets, swallowing cars like they were toys. Headlights glowed faintly under the murky water, flickering like candles about to go out. Let's pause for a second. This kind of flooding is terrifying because it's not just water, it's a force. It can sweep away vehicles, even houses, in seconds. And then, as if the rain wasn't enough, hailstones the size of golf balls. Yep, golf balls started pounding the town. Roofs buckled, car windshields cracked, and people running for cover were left bruised. Pro tip for you viewers: if you ever hear hail that big, find shelter fast. It's like getting pelted with rocks from the sky. Power lines didn't stand a chance. Sparks flew as electrical poles toppled, some catching fire before crashing into the flooded streets. Okay, quick science moment. When high winds snap power lines, the live wires can ignite anything flammable nearby, especially in wet conditions. It's a recipe for disaster. Social media blew up with videos. Shaky phone footage of umbrellas turning inside out, street signs spinning like pinwheels, and entire chunks of rooftops sailing through the air like kites. I gotta say, watching those clips on X later, it felt like Puerto Esmeralda was starring in its own action flick. But the fear in those videos was raw. For the people here, it was like a hurricane had crashed a party nobody invited it to. Puerto Esmeralda isn't exactly Tornado Alley, so this kind of wind gusts hitting 90 miles an hour was unheard of. Here's the thing. Climate patterns are shifting, and places that never saw storms like this are now in the crosshairs. The locals were left reeling, wading through knee-deep water, some barefoot, just trying to find safety. One guy posted on X, "The sky turned black, and our whole world flipped upside down." That sums it up, doesn't it? This wasn't just a storm, it was a wake-up call. As the storm's fierce winds subsided, the full scope of devastation came into view. Across the city, numerous communities lay in tatters, their streets choked with rubble and floodwaters. At least a dozen neighborhoods suffered catastrophic damage. Homes stood roofless, their structures exposed to the elements, while others had entirely succumbed to the storm's relentless force, reduced to piles of debris. One of the most severely affected sites was the Tajamar Learning Center, a hub for local education. The storm's powerful gusts tore through its classrooms, shredding ceilings and scattering books, desks, and supplies across the premises. A place meant to nurture young minds was left with twisted metal beams and broken windows, transformed in mere moments. In the city of Soledad, hospitals became overwhelmed as emergency rooms filled rapidly. At least 6 individuals sustained injuries, with 3 suffering concussions and trauma from collapsing structures. Medical staff reported that, fortunately, most injuries were not life-threatening. Yet, the visible fear on patients' faces spoke volumes about the ordeal they endured. In hospital corridors, families gathered, clinging to one another. Some cradled children, drenched and shivering from the storm's chaos, their expressions marked by shock and uncertainty. By dusk, entire districts were plunged into darkness, without power or access to clean water. The low hum of generators echoed outside medical facilities, while local shops and businesses, battered by the storm, remained closed, their owners grappling with the extent of the destruction. In just 30 minutes, the storm reshaped life for thousands in Soledad, leaving residents to confront the daunting task of rebuilding their homes and lives. "Keep moving, clear it out," voices shouted amid the wreckage, as the community began the urgent work of recovery. As dawn broke, the true extent of the storm's wrath was laid bare. Across at least a dozen communities, the landscape was transformed into a scene of ruin. Homes stood with roofs torn off, walls reduced to rubble, and streets choked with fallen trees and tangled power lines. Families wandered back to their properties, hearts sinking as they found their homes unrecognizable, some reduced to nothing but cracked foundations. Local shopkeepers and market vendors faced their own heartbreak. Storefronts were battered, and owners sifted through debris, sweeping away mud and salvaging what little stock remained. For these entrepreneurs, the damage wasn't just physical. It was the loss of their dreams and livelihoods. Early estimates suggest the storm caused millions in economic damage in mere hours, overwhelming the town's budget and prompting urgent pleas for regional and national support. The storm spared little of the town's infrastructure. A local school, a cornerstone of the community, suffered severe structural damage, rendering classrooms unusable and disrupting education. Power outages stretched across neighborhoods after numerous transformers were destroyed, leaving residents in darkness. Water systems in several areas failed, forcing families to rely on bottled water or makeshift solutions, raising concerns about potential health risks. Beyond the physical destruction, the storm left deep emotional scars. Parents held their children close, soothing fears that lingered from the terrifying night. Older residents, some who had lived in their homes for generations, spoke of feeling helpless as the winds dismantled their lives. For the community, the storm was more than a natural disaster. It was a stark reminder of life's fragility and unpredictability. The ferocious storm that swept through Vientara, Colombia, left an indelible mark on the city, not only through the widespread damage it caused, but also by showcasing the unyielding spirit of its people. This tornado-like tempest transformed a bustling urban center into a scene of upheaval in mere minutes. Vientara, home to over 600,000 residents, saw daily life grind to a halt as the storm unleashed its fury. In less than an hour, winds tore through neighborhoods, toppling structures and scattering debris. Yet, in that same fleeting window, the community's strength shone through. Neighbors banded together, shielding each other from the chaos. Emergency responders braved treacherous conditions to rescue those in need, while families held fast to hope despite the overwhelming destruction. This display of unity underscores the human capacity to endure, even in the face of nature's wrath. Storms of this magnitude are no longer isolated incidents. From South America to Southeast Asia, extreme weather events are increasing in frequency and intensity. Shifting climate patterns are making such disasters less predictable, posing a growing threat to communities worldwide. Whether it's coastal cities like Jakarta or urban hubs like Houston, the risks are strikingly similar. Vulnerable populations face the same question: not if another disaster will strike, but when and where it will hit next. This global pattern calls for awareness and preparedness. If this video resonated with you or opened your eyes to the realities of extreme weather, please give this video a thumbs up, share it with those you care about, and hit the subscribe button to stay informed on global weather events. Your engagement helps us spread this critical message. What are your thoughts? Could storms like the one in Vientara be a wake-up call for other nations, including the US? Drop your insights in the comments below. We're eager to hear your perspective and spark a conversation about our planet's future.